Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything. Copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
This is the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Along with Robert Barrett's my engineer extraordinaire. Oh, dancing on the other side of the glass. You gonna dance over there? Thank you so much for stopping by. Do we have a show for you tonight, my PPBC fans? Do you like that? PPBC? If you want to write a book tonight, authors are proof you can write a book. Yes, you can. There are no obstacles too great. Only the ones you create for yourself. Here's what I'm talking about. Ita Galmore in Newberry, South Carolina. She's got a medical condition that would stop most people right in their tracks, but she found a way around it. And she tells us how in her book called Brainstorm. And when I caught up with her, she had a million things going on because she was getting invitations together for her book signing party. Hey, Ita.
Yeah, I did one up in D.C., and that one was pretty successful, so I had some books left over, and the lady down here said, well, I got about 30 guests I want to invite, so I'm doing one here in Newberry.
What did you do to get your book party together?
My mom, we just did the invitations, and we sent them out to close family and friends.
How many people did you get to your first book party?
Oh, I want to say about 60. Ma'am.
How many bought books?
Well, all of them bought books, but some people, you know, they had to order theirs later because they were like, well, we knew it was a party, but we didn't know you had the books here. And I said, yeah, of course, you know, but I did pretty well.
You went to Washington, D.C. from South Carolina just to do a book signing.
Yes, ma'am. I was born and raised in D.C., so I knew more people up there. And my mom's from here in Newberry. She retired about 8 years ago, and I moved back with her.
So your book must be pretty good.
I'm hoping it is. I think it is. I get good feedback.
What's it about?
My book is about my struggle with my mental illness and how my family supported me and helped me and how I got through it. I still am mentally ill, but if I take my medication and when I take it, I'm fine. I take it every day for over the past 20 years almost.
What kind of mental illness do you suffer with?
I suffer from paranoid schizophrenia. Oh. I also have a learning disability.
How did your family and friends help you?
They helped me from the start. Some of them didn't know and some did know. But some people who have mental illness, they give up on you. But I guess it depends on the person and the situation.
And you were able to write it all down in a book?
Yeah, what happened was when I moved down with my mom 8 years ago here to Newberry when she retired from D.C. government, she said, Ita, why don't you write a book? I've been writing poetry since high school, since elementary, since junior high, and little stories, short stories. I've had a poem published once or twice. So I said, well, Mom, I haven't really written since I got sick. She said, well, sit down and try it again. That writer's block may leave. And I got on there and just over-poured like it's doing now like it's doing right now with the poetry I'm trying to work on. But it just came out. It overflowed.
Did you write this to give hope to other people suffering mental illness?
Yes, ma'am. I hope so because everybody's different. But if we all can relate in some sort of way, maybe we can help each other. But everybody's story is different. You know, I know some people who have depression. I know some people who have bipolar. But I happen to have paranoid schizophrenia. But a mental illness is a mental illness. But if we take out medication and do what we're supposed to do, we should come out successful in life is what I believe and what I know to be true. Were
you reluctant to take your medication?
Yes, at first I was, because my mom, she used to work in mental health. That's the other thing I went to the book. So for years when I was younger, I worked around people with mental illness when I was a child. And so the thing is, she would take me to work with her to volunteer. I was a kid, but she let me come with her to learn the ropes and stuff. And I told my mom, she said, when you go to your first appointment, when I got 18, when I first got sick, she said, Itza, she said, don't take a shot. And it's in the book. She said, ask them for pills, but if they say it's a shot, you got to take a shot. So I was reluctant at first because I said, well, how long have to do it? And they told me, they said, it would be for life, honey. And I said, for life. I said, okay, I can do it. I said, I just got to remember to take my pills. And I was reluctant at first, but I did it. I did it because I wanted to be well. I didn't want to be sick in society.
And you know what? Once Ita finished her book, she stayed on her meds, and she's finding it a whole lot easier to navigate society and be around her friends, hold a job, and keep writing. You go, Ita. Keith Bassett had a dream about time travel in his early 20s, and 25 years later, he finally wrote it down. Tell me about The Path to Aries, Keith.
The title is buried in the plot somewhere, but it's a short science fiction story. It was based on a dream that I had when I was a young man, and eventually I thought it would become a good story, so I sat down and figured out the plot and put it all together and developed the manuscript. It was quite an exciting experience. The plot was developed in reverse. First I started with the ending of the story as basically the foundation of the dream, and then work backwards from the beginning, filling in the rest of the plot. Kind of a different approach to maybe writing a story, because you're starting with the ending, and kind of like developing a treasure map.
So what's the plot? What's the story?
It's about something that happens around the time of the Romans that changed the course of history. And the life of humans was about to become destroyed, and so someone had an idea of developing a time machine, and they send something back in time that gives someone the ability to change the course or correct the course of history and make things right.
Have you given it to friends and gotten some feedback on it?
Yeah. Everyone said that it's a good story. It would be nice to have some unbiased opinion, because you don't know how honest your friends are, but everyone says it's a good story. It's quite unusual. I think it's a different concept on time travel. It's not where a being actually goes back in time. An object goes back in time, and that object has information stored on it that enables the person back in time to receive the object, and the information is absorbed by that person, and now he has the knowledge of the future. And then there's actually two forms of time travel. And of course, the story plot was originally developed around dreams, and the scientist also develops a way to send dreams back in time, which the dreams go back in time and tell the person that this object is coming, and then they need to go find it. And so there's really two different forms of time travel, and one is a dream that tells someone, and one is the actual object that goes back in time. I really didn't write the book to become famous. I wrote it because it was compelling. It's something I just had to do once I set my mind to it.
Nice, Keith. You know what? I think it's interesting that you loved the process of writing this book so much. You really embraced the whole idea of putting this book together and writing it down. And that's what scares a lot of first-time authors. But you know what? As you just heard, it does not have to. When road construction in Sedona closed 180 businesses, including the coffee shop of Cheryl Charlesworth, she turned to writing to get her mind off what was happening around her. The Ears That Have Eyes is about the personal journeys of 4 L.A. women. And Cheryl, you say they were all living these extraordinary lives. What do you mean by that?
Their lives are built around men, sex, a lot of money, but underneath all of that, there is a search that each of them want to go through to find a better place for themselves. And one of the main characters, Stephanie, is on a quest to find her mother. She is going deaf, and a lot of what she's learned from her mother is holding her back, in addition to finding love and finding her true self. So it's on a journey of 4 women. The way it starts off, everyone thinks it's like 50 Shades of Grey because there's a lot of sex and everything in it, but it takes you on a roller coaster. And in the end, everyone comes into their own, and it does have a good lesson that the way you start off in life is not necessarily the way you end up, as long as you have the courage to go forward. So, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Do you have a connection to any of these characters?
These characters were all fictional. When I lived in Sedona, I had a cafe there, and a group of us used to always get together, and we would kind of tell each other stories about our lives. And one day, when I was losing my business, the story came to me. And that story helped me kind of get through the things that were happening to me and losing my business. So I felt if I can write about someone who is having a deeper struggle than I can get through this. So the story just really saved me.
What did you end up doing?
After I lost my business, I moved back to LA. And I started working in marketing and stuff, but I continued to work on this story, and it was kind of like the pivotal for other stories that I had.
So everything kind of worked out for you.
Yeah, I feel that when you lose everything and you're at the bottom, the only way you can go is up. And I've always been one to land on my feet. I learned that from my parents and from my grandparents. So I just never gave up. Everything happens for a reason, and everything is to teach you a lesson and a stepping stone onto the next thing. So that experience really helped me. It showed me that whatever happened, I could survive it.
You sure are a survivor, Cheryl, and an inspiration, and another example of the therapeutic benefits of writing. Speaking of therapy, Dr. Peter Amma has dedicated his life to healing. He has a PhD in leadership study. He's got degrees in theology. He serves as a consultant to universities throughout Africa, and he manages and supervises a hospital in an African village. In his book, Peace in Pieces, he talks about what it will take to realize peace throughout the world. Dr. Amma, first, give us the rest of the title.
Empowering the world through the Edes Madi Peace Model.
What is this peace model?
A practice that brings about sustainable peace in the world. It is a practice by which people can easily realize peace, and the peace will be a sustainable one in the world. It's derived from a word called Made, and that Made means the good that is. And the good that is a language that comes from a certain part of language in Igbo tribe that is in West Africa.
Okay.
So basically, it's a practice whereby everybody sees himself or herself as the good that is, and be able to see the other people too as the good that is, and then treat that person as such. When you see the other person as truly good and treat him as such, then you will be able to bring about peace within you and around you.
That sounds so simple. Instead of assuming that somebody else is bad or out to get us, assume that they are good and that we can work together.
Absolutely.
Do you do this through meditation, or are there steps that you have to take?
Yeah, actually, it's a practice. And then, the steps you need to take is, first and foremost, you will be able to understand that everyone came into this world, in a peaceful way. And that is why little children, they don't usually have grudges.
Right.
When they are born, they grow up, and then they treat everyone the same way, see everyone as equal, go to anybody, regardless, have no fear of anything. So that state is the state of mad, the state of goodness. But as they begin to grow, then the things around them in the world begin to make impression on them. And then the children, as they grow, they begin to see people who are angry, have hate, are envious. It's not who we are. We didn't come with those kind of negative characteristics. And then if we imbibe that, it begins to affect our mind. And then it depreciates our goodness, and it distorts who we truly are. Right. And that is how we begin to, have conflict, within ourselves and with one another.
Imagine if we could all accept that we came into this world as good people. Every single person is born pure and without prejudice or hate. And if we could just deal with each other with that in mind, there could be peace in the whole world, Rob. Uh-oh. That's something to think about. While we take a quick break, we have so much more coming up. Do not go anywhere. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything. Copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
Maybe I should write a book about doing the Page Publishing Book Club. What do you think, Rob? We have so much fun doing this show. Thank you so much for coming back. We love it when you come back. The old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover, but more often than not, we do, right? And then we act on what we believe to be true, not necessarily because it's true, what we believe to be true. Well, that was a lesson Mary Kelly wanted to teach her grandchildren in her book, It's the Thought That Counts.
I got this idea of watching my grandkids and how people, how they kind of put children down that doesn't have much. And a lot of times they'll think someone is lesser than themselves because they have a little bit more. Or if the person has more, it's not because they just rich or something like that. It's that they work hard to get what they got. And a lot of times kids think that when an adult has money or has a lot of nice things, that they didn't work hard to get them, they're just rich, But once they find out, it's not what you think. We work very hard, and we just don't have it like we think that we do. Just because we got all these things, doesn't necessarily mean that we have it all the time. And then there's another boy that's in there that learned that when he belittles someone, he finds out down the line that person is going to be the person to help him when he really, really needs that person to help. The character in there that they lose everything through a fire. Everything just gone, it's gone. And the very person that person hurt feelings is the person that comes out. And then when he finds out that this person didn't have as much, but had something that was valuable, because he didn't have anything once they lost their home. They didn't have anything. So when this other child gives the kid something of value that may not have seemed valuable to that other person, he says to that person that, it's your thought that counts. And it's really surprising because it was so mean to that same person. But everyone learns from it. I started that book off like in 2000, believe it or not. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to see if I can get this published. So I called Page Publisher, and the guy told me that, everybody has to go over the book and make sure that it's okay to be published. Because I really wanted to get that message out to the kids and some true grown folks that I noticed it does the same thing, that you never know if that person that you belittle is going to be the person that helps you in the end.
And it's funny because it's a lesson we all have to learn sooner or later.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a lesson that we all have to learn. I remember I said in the book with one of the characters, his father was sick, and the mom was explaining, remember when your dad was ill, he couldn't work. And everything that you see just didn't come by so easily, We had to struggle to get through this. And then the other character that was kind of on the mean side realized that, you don't have to be so evil to anyone because of what they don't have. That person is going to be the person that ends up helping you.
All right, Mary, bottom line, be nice. Don't judge. Tom McCauley also has a message to share. Believe. And I believe this is your first children's book, right, Tom?
That's correct, yes. The characters in the book are all past and present family members. And I wanted to leave a legacy for my family and also write a positive book for kids and also for adults.
This is about a little boy who dreamed about playing on an all-star baseball team.
That's right. And his grandfather bought him a present for making the all-star team, had purchased an old necklace at a magic shop years ago, and he put it away. It's got 3 wishes to it, and it's supposed to energize the person that wears it, and it'll grant him 3 wishes if the wearer says believe. So the little boy, 10-year-old boy Matthew, thinks about how he can use the wishes, and he thinks about, personal glory or by hitting home runs or winning games or saving the wishes for the World Series tournament that is later in the summer. And then he decides that his grandfather never said that he had to use it for baseball, that he could use it for anything or anybody. In between those games, the coach has lined up special community projects, the first of which is having a game with a disabled team from the same park. They split the teams up, and the kids play each other, and Matthew decides to test his necklace out by sharing it with a kid by the name of Jack, and he lends Jack his baseball bat that he calls a weapon, and he wishes that Jack would hit a home run over the fence. And on the 3rd pitch, he does hit a home run. That's right.
So there's a lesson to be learned in this book.
That's right.
Yeah,
and
nice.
There's also a lesson of selfishness. It also is a positive message for anybody that teamwork matters all throughout the games, and the coach is encouraging the kids as they have some tough games, but they always manage to pull ahead. And
why did you choose baseball?
Well, all sports have been a big part of my life.
Okay.
I played competitively basketball for my youth, and then I coached baseball for 16 years, Little League. I had all my 4 sons participate in those teams, and we did some things like play against a disabled team, and I just thought that would be a good example of helping the community and keeping everybody all-inclusive. And finally, my oldest grandson, whose name is Matthew, participated in the Dizzy Dean World Series tournament in South Haven, Mississippi. They were very successful in both of those summer tournaments.
Great.
So that kind of motivated me to use baseball as the backdrop, communicate my positive message to everybody.
That's a wonderful message, Tom. And what a legacy you leave behind for those grandchildren of yours. Really, really inspiring. Thank you. Finally, Carissa Cohn is a junior in high school. She's been writing a book every year since the 6th grade. This one entitled The 7th Division. And it was the one her dad said she had to publish. Right, Carissa? So what's the deal?
It's about this girl who has to go through 5 different challenges in order to survive this thing called the divide, which basically is a way of controlling population. And she has to go through the 5 challenges, and each one makes the population get smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's only 49 survivors, and there's 700 people to begin with. So the odds are not very good.
Okay, this kind of sounds like The Hunger Games.
It's been related to that before. That's not where I got my inspiration. I read a bunch of dystopias, and then I couldn't find one that sparked my fancy to read, so I just wrote my own.
Is it a series of books, or is it just one book?
I've written the first book. I've written the second book, but I haven't submitted it yet, and I'm working on the third.
Are you a member of a book club in school or something?
No.
Are you handing it out to your friends?
I've just kind of talked about it to people. I was put on the school news. That's basically it.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that you want to be a writer when you grow up.
That is part of the goal.
What's your goal?
I plan on being a child and teen psychologist, and I want to be able to write books for them.
That's great.
To help them. Yep.
How would you write a book to help somebody?
I really don't know. It's kind of just, I guess I'm going to see what would help them most through talking to them, through learning more about them, and then we'll see where it goes.
Well, you know what, Carissa, it sounds like you're on your way. You are well on your way. And I think we're on our way out of here. Am I right? I am right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you got a little info, a little inspiration, a little oomph to get going on that book that you are going to write. Yes, you are. Otherwise, what are you listening for? I have to say, we do have some pretty interesting characters here on the Page Publishing Book Club. And we have a whole new crop ready and waiting for you next week. Same time, same place. 710 WOR.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free